So number 2 top tweet of the week, there's a funny story here. We got some funny feedback, an interesting YouTube comment on our uranium video we put up yesterday. Because these blokes sound as smart as 3 blokes in the local bars TAB. That's being generous, to be honest. The nerd, the 3rd grade cricketer, and the yobbo.
G'day, Money Minders. It's bloody weekend time, and Matty loves a good weekend. Swan draft is going to be flowing. Boys, how are we? Trav, JD.
I'm doing well, mate. That was a cracking intro. You're getting even better.
Oh, mate, when I start thinking about drinking piss, I get a bit excited.
Oh, you'll have one pretty soon to take the edge off, mate.
Yes, mate. Tell you what, an interesting and action-packed Thursday night. We will get into that on the Twitter sphere. Now, I don't know what's worse out of, I guess, the negative feedback we get from YouTube and Hot Copper or the feedback from Trav's mum. She can be brutal.
Well,
what did
all
your mum
3
have
of the
to
people
say?
you mentioned there are very honest, Matty. They don't hold anything back when they're given the feedback. So I got a bit of feedback from mum yesterday. Got to address that one up front. She told me. Well, she actually told me, she called me up and she said, wash your mouth out. You are swearing too much. I'm only allowed 1 swear word per episode, according to
You
Mum.
were
So
going down to an episode.
I will fucking reserve it for the right moment.
Oh, no, you're done.
There you go. And what was the other feedback?
Oh, that was all.
That was all. Okay.
JD, I noticed you yesterday
Well,
I re-listened to the uranium one, and in the background, I think Trav started talking, but you ripped an F-bomb as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Bloody
I thought your mum might have to comment on me not wearing a collared shirt anymore, but
yeah.
I'm getting away with it, so we'll see how long
Wait till she gets
that
me
lasts.
vaping on camera. Sorry, Carmel.
And there was something else we wanted to address. So we had an awesome comment.
Oh, from the GG Nader.
Yes.
GG.
So a potential new intro theme tune.
She recommended a new intro tune for us.
Yeah,
Didn't she?
and I'm quite fond of the one we've got, although the recommendation was pretty stellar.
And this one used to get played a lot of time on the underground mining buses and on R&R when we were on the Fruity Disco Biscuits. But bloody Pendulum, the ABC remix.
ABC News remix.
It is so good. So
I wish we could play a little glimpse, but we don't want to attract any more hate than we might already be
I'll send
getting.
an Instagram message to Pendulum themselves.
They're a Perth outfit, right, Pendulum?
Yep, they are.
So surely
anyone
one of
know
our
them?
listeners knows the guys at Pendulum. If you do know them and if they like you, can you please just give them a call and say, hey, I love this podcast and they want to use the ABC remix.
Yeah, we
as
just
their
want
intro song.
We just want to be able to play, 30 odd seconds, fire ourselves up and the audience.
It's like
Sits.
it's actually on brand for us because we're telling the news, but in a real like jazzed up way. So
Yeah.
I like it. heaps.
Oh, bloody love it. Right. What's happening, boys? News of the day. Everyone's starting to put the pre-quarterlies out or the pre-annuals or however you term them.
Yeah, that's it.
Meeting
Starting to trickle
guidance
out.
or not meeting guidance or what the bloody go is. First one off the block today, they were down 17% early in trade is Aeris, AIS.
So not a good announcement. Aeris obviously have a few different assets. They're taking in a few from Round Oak Minerals a short while ago. So
You have to get to the second page to see the negative bit of the
Exactly.
announcement. It looked good at the start.
you have to sift through a little bit there. So what they've done is they've pulled their EBITDA guidance and they broke it out sort of by asset. So Matty, you looked into specifically what they were doing on the copper front. So these guys report a copper equivalent guidance, and then also you can break down to copper specific. And then they obviously also had an EBITDA guidance. But talking about the actual copper that they churned out, what were the sort of numbers you saw?
Well, their FY23 guidance from their March quarterly was 28,000 to 32,000 tonnes of copper. But if you add up what their actual was from each operation, they've come in just under at 27,372. But that March guidance was reduced already from their December quarterly. So their initial guidance was.
We'll pull it up on the YouTube to see, but the initial pure copper was 32 to 40,000 tonnes.
Yep. So then they reduced that to 28 to 32 in March, and now they've fallen
Drop short,
below that as well, and they're pulling their EBITDA and cost guidance as well. So, it looks like it was from issues at the Jaguar, at the Bentley mine.
Yeah, so they gave a a paragraph or two on each of the operations. So starting with Triton, they had a relatively good quarter. They said their best production month since 2019. So things looked pretty good on that front. At Cracker, which was the asset they got off Evolution a little while ago.
So that's gold only.
That's gold. And they met their guidance, 48,000 ounces for the financial year. Then Mount Colin, this is where things started to slip a bit. So they said production was in line with their plans, but because they are toll treating this with Evolution, they said Evolution didn't chuck it through the processing plant.
And I think that was the driver in their reduction in guidance from their December quarter.
Yeah,
from their March quarterly, it was because of the Mount Colin operation.
Yeah, so they then obviously can't go on and sell it and get the cash, hence their EBITDA guidance has slipped. So they've said they've got a bunch of stockpiles waiting there, and then in early July that should be treated. And then Jaguar is where things got even worse. So they had 3 seismic events at the sort of lower depths there. Now, Matty, unlike Trav and I, you've actually been underground, worked underground. So we hear about seismic events before. It's something we're familiar with, but I'm keen to sort of hear from you what it actually means operating underground. Like, how long are you stopped for? What are the sort of checks that have to be done at an operational level?
And so seismic, for people that don't know, seismic is essentially an earthquake underground. It's ground movement, any ground movement with big bangs and cracks and potential ground failure. So the first issue with it is if there's high seismic activity, they'll pull everyone out from underground. And so a lot of the time it usually comes after like a firing event. So when a stope's been fired, or like a big firing, so there's a big chunk of rock that has been blasted. So there's a new void, and the ground around it moves to compensate for that variation in the new ground structure. So that's what causes a lot of seismic events. And so if you're in a very highly seismic mine, there might be standoff times. There might be 12 or 24-hour standoff from a stope firing in that area until the ground calms down.
And mining just has to stop, hey?
Yeah. In that area, not like in other areas that aren't seismic or that aren't affected by that stope blast. There'll be like an exclusion zone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one sort of production hindrance. And then, so they said 3 separate seismic events.
Yeah,
so,
preventing them from getting to the higher grade stopes.
Yeah, so and whether that seismic event was a ground failure or whatnot. So if there's a seismic, because you can have a seismic event, but the ground support's there to keep it intact.
Yeah.
But if the seismic event is large enough and it actually destroys the ground, the ground support's rendered bloody useless. So it actually the ground support fails. So when that happens, so that prevents you getting access, because if you haven't got the ground support in place to standard, you can't go past that area. So until the jumbo's gone in and rehabbed it, like they've bogged it out, they've rehabbed it and re-supported it. So that is where the lack of access comes. I don't know the actual context of what these.
Yeah. So Jaguar, the one where they're having these issues, is the WA mine. They've got a few other Queensland assets as well.
Yeah, that's one of the ones they got off Round Oak. So
it was IGO back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yep.
There you go. So yeah, it's obviously once you can't get access to the production area, you can't bog the fired dirt, or so that's going to be a production hindrance. You got to use equipment that's meant to be elsewhere to go in and rehabilitate it, to reinstall the ground support, stitch it back up. And then that's after the seismicity has calmed down. So if it's a highly active area, that's where all the production, like the reduction in production, that rhymes. The reduced production comes in. So
so they didn't meet their zinc guidance. They actually did meet their copper guidance, although it wasn't a huge number. And now the mine plan is being reviewed there. So see what happens there.
And then it's the flow on effect of that, because when you're in a sequence, you have delays to that stope. You then delay the future ones coming online as well, and your whole schedule gets pushed forward. So
so Aeris has had a pretty tough time of it. Like you said, they're off 17%. I think when I last checked, they were still off 15. They capped it a bit under 300 million now. So,
and then obviously with lower copper prices and much lower zinc prices, they're very exposed to it with those operations. So they'd be looking for a turnaround in those commodity prices for FY24, you would think.
Absolutely. Should we chat about Regis now? They also had a little pre-quarterly come out. So
another record gold production. We've seen a few of these, mate.
record gold production. So a bit of a better announcement than Aeris. Once you dig into the detail, that's sort of what's important. So they produced 458,000 ounces. So they guided.
What are you laughing at, Joe?
Can't help yourself from having a little toke, eh?
As soon as Matty stops talking, it's just a quick suck.
So Regis, they initially guided between 450 and 500,000 ounces. In the March quarter, this got revised down to the lower portion of that, to 450 to 470,000 ounces, as well as growth capital being increased from roughly 150 million up to 200 odd million. So for the financial year 23, Duketon chipped in 327,000 ounces and Tropicana contributed another 131,000 ounces. Now, what's most important is what happened on the cash side of things. Obviously, you don't want more ounces being mined at just high costs. So they built cash of 39 million over the past quarter. Now, you can sort of surmise from that, using the cash build and the gold produced and their hedges in gold price, that implied costs are roughly 289 million. And you have to remember with Regis, we spoke about this, I think, around the last quarterly, that they had some pretty rough hedging in place. So
I think they're one of the biggest, the ones impacted by hedging the most
on
the market.
It wasn't
huge amount of hedging.
It wasn't the biggest portion of hedges. It's 23% of guidance over the next year and a half.
Oh, we're dog sitting at the moment. There might be a bit of a dog in the background.
Go
He's
on,
all
Checkers.
right. Checkers, put him on camera.
Checkers is making his money
Superstar.
line debut.
Hey, Checkers, he loves bloody the ball out the back. But they're hedging obviously at very low prices.
1,500 Aussie.
Yeah.
So we're at about, we're over 2,800 Aussie right now. So that's not a great hedge to have in place.
So what did you say? So you got for the next 1.5 years, they got 23% of their production hedged at 1,500 Aussie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What are the analysts saying about this?
That's a kick in the nuts.
So if you look at what John McDonald, the gold analyst at Argonaut, had to say about this, there was a couple, he puts in a few great charts, and there was two of them that stood out to me. So if you look at the last 2 years, breaking it down sort of quarter by quarter, this is only the third quarter where their margin has actually been positive. So only the third quarter where they're actually making money. And there was another chart, and it speaks to something we've spoken about quite a bit. It's the expected and reported reserves. So the chart he shows expands over the past 5 years or so. But if you look specifically at what the last 4 years have done, looking at expected reserves, that's just been declining from about 7 million ounces down to below 3 million ounces now. So they speak about in the report today building cash and such, and we've sort of spoken of the need for these guys to increase their reserves. So that sort of speaks to potential M&A in the future.
Well, the word on the decline's been going around for a while now about Regis and Gold Road. That's how does that work with hedging? If they go do an M&A deal, is that a way to get them out of this hedging or not?
You'd have to pay up if you want to get out of it. At the end of the day,
you can think of an out of the money hedge book sort of the same as debt, right? It's like a future liability that you know. So when you're calculating the EV of a company, the way I do it is I'd add the out of the money value of the hedge book onto that, and you kind of you're solving value in that sort of manner.
So we saw Capricorn a month or so ago. They had a hedge book, not at quite extreme prices like this. I think the hedges they had in place were sitting at roughly 2,300 Aussie. But they had the cash and they were sort of perhaps bullish of gold price over the coming sort of year or so. So they just bought out the hedges, So you've got to cough up and pay to fill those hedges, so deliver the gold, and then you can be have that exposure to wherever the gold price is going forward. But it's obviously something they've decided against.
So they've looking at the highlights, they said their cash has increased 24.3 million up from 204 million. So what they're going to have nearly 230 million bucks of cash.
Cash has increased to 243 million.
243.
Yeah, so that's their cash and bullion position at the end of the financial year.
Does that put them in a similar position to Capricorn where they could do something with that cash to reduce their hedge, or not a play for them?
Keep in mind their future capex as well, right? They want to
with is that with Cow?
McPhillamys,
sorry. Yeah.
So that will be constructed over the next couple years. They got really important permits in the last half year there. So I think they want to see that come online, before the end of before the start of 2026.
What's the play with the word on the decline with Regis and Gold Road? What's the synergy there?
The rationale there is, Gold Road's making plenty of cash, and you can use that cash flow to fund the development of McPhillamys. Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
But I don't have any insight if that's real or not.
Nah, it's been going around a while. Yeah. Anything else? So what'd you say, looking at these graphs here that we've obtained?
The ones we've shown, you can just see what the the margin has been above costs.
Yep.
And secondly, you can see what the reserve position has been.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Keep your, I guess, positive, are we concluding, for Regis?
Yeah, not a bad quarter.
Cash build, hit guidance, looking all right.
It was a better quarter, yeah.
Yeah, but reserves declining. So
yeah. And so this what's the timeline on this McPhillamys build? Are they they're still searching for, are they fully funded or they're looking for funding? What's
there's a funding gap there. They're gonna have to tap extra sources, but they've got debt capacity, right? It's just how levered do you want to be, and if you can have more, cash generating assets to fuel that development, you have to. Well, there's less per share dilution you got to do if there's any equity involvement. So
and whether they're going to do it with someone else.
Yep.
Right. Interesting one that come out last night, boys, on Twitter. PMT short report for Patriot.
Oh, I got excited when I saw this one. I shouldn't have. I know that's I shouldn't be admitting that, but I got excited.
The only thing I was excited about was the fact that, now someone else can cop shit off all these people and negative public scrutiny.
I was worried people were going to think we bloody wrote
Now the attention's off us. Far out.
So what happened here, JD?
Oh, that legacy's lived on.
So like you sort of said, Matty, they promoted it on Twitter, but this group that I'd never heard of, Night Market Research, they came out with a short report on Patriot Battery Metals, which is a company we've followed. We've interviewed Blair Way, the CEO, a couple times a few odd months ago, as well as doing a bit of a piece on our own.
And this Night Market Research, are they reputable? Have they done any other short reports? I've never heard of them either.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them. They have done other short reports. You can go on their website and see. They don't have a massive following, so I guess they're still trying to build a bit of a brand.
Because it says all the disclaimers at the bottom that they are short, so they're investors of some degree, because it says they are short on the stock.
Yeah, and if you're interested, you can just go on the website and read the report, and you can go and listen to our discussions with Blair a couple of months ago as well, just on our YouTube channel. But I'm keen to hear what you guys sort of think. There were a number of points throughout the report that we'd sort of raised as well. They even gave us a shout out.
Mate, they called us you should listen to the 3
well-informed
episodes with the Well-Informed Money of Mine podcast.
God, that's the PBET shareholders had different opinions of us. But God, I wonder who I'm going to weigh up here.
It's a bit different to some of the feedback we got last night as well.
I thought it was hilarious. I kind of felt I felt like it was kind of a cool feeling to read us get referenced in this report. When you interviewed me, Matty, in that long form one, I sort of spoke about how I consumed lots of finance content when I was sort of getting into the space, and the kind of content I was somehow drawn to with these interviews with short sellers, because they're these very bent personalities in the world. They have such a cynical view on things, and so it was just a little bit of a funny moment to read us get mentioned in a short report.
Well, it's easy for them to do it without putting their name to it, but isn't it? We're public heads attached to it, whereas these guys are behind whatever organisation this is.
Yeah, and that's for good reason, because it's defamation in Australia is pretty rough. But I was bloody reading the report, and the first thing I'm thinking when I'm going through the points is, people are going to think this is me, because there's a couple of points that we've obviously talked about on the potty where we had the Blair Way interview, but then another point that the short thesis author makes is in relation to some commentary that Bridget Carter put out of the Australian, and I personally put up a tweet about that exact thing. So I'm thinking, geez, there's some real alignment of talking points here. Someone who's trying to deduce the person behind the account might be a little bit suspicious that it's me, but I can confirm it is not me.
Well, letting everyone know that to get one episode out every day of every bloody week consumes a lot of our time. We haven't got time to write fucking short reports. I can tell you that much. So
a lot of the report, in my opinion, sort of hinges on the reserve that's supposed to resource, right? So that's meant to come out this month, and I think
because it was initially June. Blair said in the interview to us, it's probably going to be pushed to July.
I think the report stressed that it had been pushed back 7 times already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw a lot hinging around that, and then you have the other sort of elephant in the room that they're a pretty highly valued exploration company, and it's a long time before they're going to turn that into cash, and just the sort of risk that surrounds that. So
yeah, it's not the usual. Like quite often these short reports, they point out like fraud and stuff like that. This isn't a short report.
And I think
founded in fraud. It's more just founded in hype and a poor risk reward equation.
I mean, I think there was a line saying they have zero doubt that this is a pretty stellar discovery, which is something we'd stressed as well when we spoke with Blair.
Yeah. Our critique was similar. I think in a lot of ways, it's just, is the investment proposition there from a risk reward perspective? I certainly lent on the side of no on that argument, but I still think it's a pretty cool discovery. Like, I just wish it wasn't so,
Yeah, and I'm like genuinely
elevated.
Fascinated to see what they come out with the resource this month. It should be
there's still it's just that final piece of the puzzle where you just want a resource because of the absence of cross sections and the unknown and everything, and everyone just wants to see, right, what is this number? All the analysts have got their different ranges of numbers. I know like Canaccord and that were putting out about, I think it was a bit below 150 million tonne at 1.1%, whereas
Macquarie
this short report was saying that they were I don't know what the word is, but accusing or saying that it was possibly 40% out from actual. So, but like that thing, we just don't know until the resource comes out.
I thought the commentary regarding Bridget Carter, as you touched on there, Trav, as well, was quite interesting. And for anyone interested in that, Joe Aston, a phenomenal writer at the AFR, wrote a bit of a critique on some of the journalism Ms. Carter had done, I think in 2019. And it's just a hilarious article. It's so funny. Just sort of pulling apart the integrity and the quality of that journalism. Yeah. Definitely worth a read.
Anyway, let's get back to some high quality journalism that you've got on Money of Mine. And speaking of which, I think it's time to press the red button.
Wait. Just I want to round that one off. I found a bloody I think Chucky posted this one. I just thought this was a funny thing to mention while we're still talking PMET. Chucky posted a tweet of one person who's clearly posted in the PMET hot copper after the short report has gone up.
Bill Town.
Bill Town goes,
he hammered us last time.
Trav, you can't say that third word.
Oh,
mate.
yeah. You're going to have to read this out. Sorry, Mum.
Right. Who the fuck is Night Market Research? They sound like a big time research company. 44 followers on Twitter. Money of Mine also almost have as many followers. There are some desperate people out there.
Come on, Bill. We got 45 followers.
Bill was one of our great interactors on the first PMET saga.
He was.
Hot Copper. Good to see he hasn't gone away.
And on the topic of social media, should we hit the button?
All right, let's do it.
Trav's top tweets. Oh, bloody does not get old. Trav's top tweets. Brilliant, mate. What caught your eye, Mr. Bloody Skepticism?
Trav's top tweets. All right, boys, we ready?
And I love the voice he puts onto it. It's like he goes into this a whole other alter ego.
It's a performance.
Stage presentation. It's bloody weird.
All righty. So we got 4 great tweets today, as usual, fellas. And tweets 3 and 4 both relate to the same story. It's a fascinating announcement that came out from a nickel laterite play in WA called Ardea, their ticker ARL. So the context is Ardea, they dropped an ASX PFS or pre-feasibility study combined at the same time with an announcement that they had this MOU with Mitsubishi, Sumitomo and Mitsui. They dropped those on the platform at the exact same time. The stock jumped 60% intraday. Awesome. And look, if you take the PFS at its face value, what did you see? You saw a sub $100 million market cap company sitting on a project with a $5 billion NPV.
Wow.
Wow. How cool. No wonder it dropped 60%, right? But wait, there are some sleuths out there on Twitter doing some damn good work.
There always
JD
is.
and Matty. So top tweet number 4 goes to Respeculator. And for Respeculator, this is his second time in top tweets of the week. So well done, Respeculator. He looks at the assumptions used in the PFS. And what he says is 100% payability, 7% discount rate, and those commodity prices.
Have a look at that nickel price.
Question mark, question mark.
Have a look at it.
So, I mean, he's taking a screenshot of the marketing assumptions. The nickel price, 25,000 US per ton. Payability, 100%. Cobalt price, 50,000 US per ton. Payability, 100%. So, and then he follows it up with another tweet saying, claiming 100% payability because
So that nickel price they're using is higher than where the nickel price sits today.
And the cobalt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both are, yeah.
What is it? 21,000 at the moment?
Mate, if cobalt was 50,000 per ton, we wouldn't be trashing Javois on the
Javois, our good friends. That's
it's sitting at
60% higher.
Yeah. So
On the cobalt front, Matty, 60
Yeah. Nickel's sitting at 21,000 at the moment.
And 100% payability. Is that realistic?
Well, Respeculator follows it up. He says, claiming 100% payability because pricing is opaque in China, will get premium for ESG compliant production, has me dumbfounded. Only need to go look at Ravensthorpe. And he's taken a screenshot of First Quantum's presentation where you can see them break down nickel production contained and also nickel production payable. And there is clearly a bit of a discount on payability there.
So what's that work out? That's about 70% payability by the looks?
Yeah, so people listening in, the production
75.
nickel, 5,900 roughly, and the payable nickel produced, 4,300. So substantially
lower. Are back down 10% today.
I thought it was great, but Joshua Baker at DZNBKR, he takes it one step further with this, and he's taken a screenshot of his Excel spreadsheet where he's looked to amend some of these assumptions that Ardea put out there. What he's adjusted is he's changed the commodity prices to the current levels. He adds a fair payability of 80% rather than 100%, and he generously leaves OPEX and CAPEX the same. The result? Unfundable. So well done, Joshua Baker. I thought that was great. Good to share your Excel analysis with Twitter as well. Much appreciated, mate.
So what that changing those figures, what took the MPV from with the 7% discount rate from 5 billion to below 2 billion.
Yep, takes the payback years from 3.1 to over 10. So
yeah, pretty hard to find something like that, especially. I mean, it's
uneconomic.
A Kalgoorlie development as well. You're really going to, believe CapEx is going to stay that too. I mean, you can. It's pretty easy to make the narrative that it's going to be tricky to fund that one.
Yeah.
So number 2, top tweet of the week. There's a funny story behind this one, fellas.
So are these ranked, Trav? So 1, 2,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, they were 4 and 3. Yeah, I get you. Right.
Go on, mate.
I was looking at the nickel price.
No, you were having a vape.
I did have a sneaky one.
So number 2, top tweet of the week. There's a funny story here. We got some funny feedback, an interesting YouTube comment on our uranium video we put up yesterday. And this comment that a bloke left on our video, he goes, these blokes sound as smart as 3 blokes in the local bars TAB. That's being generous, to be honest. The nerd, the 3rd grade cricketer, and the yobbo.
Well, this was actually very confusing. So I think
this is a point of contention.
Well, I've definitely taken the yobbo. That's obvious. But the nerd, because I thought you were both nerds. But
fair enough.
Like, which one was the 3rd? But I'm like, JD is tall and athletic. He might be like a medium fast left arm over the wicket.
Yeah, but would you call that 3rd grade?
Third grade is the chubby bloke who bloody
I think regrettably my glasses make me the nerd.
Trav is definitely not chubby, but that's the only thing.
It was the uranium piece, mate, and it was JD was a lot smarter than I was on that topic, so I reckon he's got to be the nerd, which makes me the 3rd grade.
And you even updated your Twitter profile to have
I did
3rd grade cricketer as your
you got to embrace the criticism, mate. I chucked the comment up on my own Twitter account, and I said, "Can we please confirm that JD Money of mine is the nerd and I am the 3rd grade cricketer?" Of course, Matty Mickles is the yubbo. And we've got a reply comes in from Aussie at One More If, he says, ignore the retards. And I reply to him, but they're my co-hosts. Please don't cancel me for using these words. And then someone replies to that tweet from me. It's Churgers. And he says, can you win your own tweet of the week segment? ? Churgers, I can't in good faith give the award to myself, but I can give it to you. Well done, mate. That's at Churgers.asx.
Silver medal.
Silver medal. Well done, mate.
Yeah.
Number 1 top tweet of the week. Are we ready? Oh, it's a very unlikely winner,
This
fellas.
voice wigs me out, Trav. It's so different.
There was a lot of good content this week as well. So I'm keen to see who's the winner.
Oh, I know. This is slipping in a little bit of naughty territory. It's,
All right.
It's an AVZ tweet, guys.
Ooh,
AVZ. Bear with me.
This will be
It's
good
an
for Reg.
active Twitter following.
The initial post here is actually from Tom Richardson, a guy we haven't been super complimentary of in his coverage of the AVZ story, have we?
So for those wondering, he is a journalist with the AFR.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
just follow the story.
We may have said that he couldn't tell the difference between the two Congos in one of our previous episodes, but
And in this episode.
and in this but anyway, we'll start. We'll give that context. So Tom Richardson, he's not the winner of this one. He retweeted a post from a CSE, so Canadian Stock Exchange listed company called AJN Resources. So the CSE is like
This one's great.
the third rate sort of exchange in Canada. It's sort of the TSX and the TSXV, and then the CSE is like, yeah.
Reputable.
Yeah. So what Tom Richardson's retweeted a post, and the original post is from this company AJN Resources, and they basically just post an update that they've pegged some, they've had some spodumene along strike and some ground in the Monono region. So Tom Richardson retweets it, and he says, former AVZ CEO has new beers listed in Canada. It's acquired an exploration license in the Congo at Monono and struck a rich lithium deposit. Thumbs up. So JD, Matty, for the audio listeners, how would you describe the photo that accompanies the post from AJ Resources?
He looks like Dr. Carl
AJN Resources.
with that shirt.
So it's a photo of the CEO of AJN Resources. And Matty, you say he looks like Dr. Carl. JD, how would you describe him?
I'd second that. That's pretty hilarious. You don't normally see a cutout of a headshot next to the quote on the front page of a exploration announcement.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
So he's a bold guy, super tan. He's got these savvy square glasses on, and he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt unbuttoned a little bit too far.
It's a bit naughty.
Personally, I describe him as looking a little bit like a life coach that lives on the Gold Coast. No offense to that style, but it's not the typical CEO in a suit kind of look now, is it, fellas? It's the comments to this from Tom Richardson that are deserving of top tweet of the week, boys. The comments are hilarious. And Microcap Jesus at Saintly96, he says, if you're invested in a company and CEO dresses like this, you're going to make a lot of money. Trust me, bro. And he zoomed in on the CEO there. But the one I think gets top tweet of the week for me goes to name cannot be blank @ the grain bill. He says, there's no way you can convince me that this guy doesn't have a backyard renovation show on Channel 9. So well done, mate. I thought it was great. Backyard renovation. Yeah, I reckon you can peg some ground if you've got a backyard show.
Oh, might find niobium. Who knows? Oh, good work, Trav. Love your work, mate. Love when you go transform into that persona. It's bloody my highlight of the week. Boys, another sensational week. I reckon, geez, it was a ripper of a week.
It was.
Had Wayne on, Matty Langsford. He was a bloody great yarn. Good coverage on the develop and takeover. The bloody the Genesis Reserve update. Bit of wheeling and dealing, speculation for the Murchison region. Uranium deep dive by JD. I reckon what a ripper week of content.
It was a good one.
Round it off on. Mate, the newsletter, everyone. Subscribe to our newsletter. We'll chuck the link in the show notes.
The Hootaroo Herald.
Is that what is it? The Hootaroo. It's going to be the Hootaroo Herald.
We're still open to suggestions, I reckon.
I reckon we run that this week. The Hootaroo Herald. It's too good.
It is pretty good.
We'll chuck we've got JD remind us to chuck the link in the show notes to subscribe. It comes out every Saturday morning, right when you're having your coffee and you're sitting on the shitter avoiding kids' sport. Read the Hootaroo Herald.
Oh, I love it.
Righto, boys.
Love it. Hootaroo, guys.
Cheers, money miners. That's about it.
Hooroo.
See you next week. Hooroo.
The information contained in this episode of Money of Mine is of general nature only and does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Before making any investment decision, you should consult with your financial advisor and consider how appropriate the advice is to your objectives, financial situation, and needs.